so we're going to get this going here. Okay, so we're going to divide fractions just like we were in elementary school. Okay, so if you have 1/2 divided by 3/4, okay, does anybody remember what to do? Do what? Do what? No, that's when you're adding or subtracting. It has to be the same number on the bottom. Okay, luckily for us, we don't have to do that yet. So the second term or number you flip. Yeah, now y'all remember, right? So you take the reciprocal of the second term, not the first term. Don't do the reciprocal of the first term, only the second term. Now, and then you change it to a multiplication problem. So now it's a multiplication problem, okay? And you just treat it like multiplication. You multiply straight across the top, and you get 4, and straight across the bottom, and you get 6, and this one happens to reduce to 2/3. Okay? So that's what we're going to do down here for our multiplication. We're going to flip the second one. So when you're working these problems, and like especially next week on the test, you have to make sure that you're paying really good attention to that sign, because you don't want to flip the multiplication ones. You only want to use the reciprocal of the division ones, right? Okay, so this denominator right here, what do they have in common? A 2 and an x. Okay, so we bring out the 2 and the x, and that leaves us x squared, good, minus 1. Okay, now this x squared minus 1, it doesn't look like it, but it is difference of 2 squares, because you can take the square root of 1 and you can take the square root of x squared. So we are going to come back to that in a minute and use difference of 2 squares to factor that. That one's a sneaky one. That one will sneak up on you and you won't realize that it's a difference of 2 squares. Now here comes the part where we're going to use the reciprocal. Come on, pen. We're going to use the reciprocal of the second term. So we're going to put the x on the bottom in the denominator. And then for this numerator, what do they both divide by? This one, a 2x squared. Okay, my work is getting a little too jammed up together, so try not to do that on yours. Okay, and then when we divide, we get x what? Minus 1. So that's not difference of 2 squares because it doesn't have the square there. Okay, so now, if I have room, I like to go ahead and just recopy everything rather than marking this out and doing it underneath. And I do have a little room. I don't know how y'all are doing on your paper, but so this x squared minus 1, how does it factor? I just said a minute ago it was difference of 2 squares. So you take the square root of x squared and it's x. You take the square root of 1 and it's 1, and then 1's a plus, 1's a minus, right? Okay, then over here we don't have anything fancy, any more factoring we need to do. So now we're ready to just cancel out, okay? So let's see here. So the x minus 1's cancel out, don't they? And that looks like all for now, doesn't it? Okay? So we're going to rewrite. I like to write my monomials first, 2x squared, and then 3x minus 1. That's what's left on the top. But look at this right here. What's on the bottom here? 2 what? 2x squared. And then an x plus 1. So what actually happened to the 2x squareds? They're going to cancel out too. It just wasn't as noticeable up here in this part of the problem, was it? We just didn't notice it until we kind of started putting it back together. So our final answer is 3x minus 1 over x plus 1. Okay? So this is giving us some practice from yesterday too, because multiplication is not that much different than division. Okay, the main thing is y'all got to just have practice in the factoring. Okay, so this little guy right here, put it over 1 so you know he's not on the bottom. He's not in the denominator. He is truly the numerator. Okay, so do we flip this one? No, we take the reciprocal of the second term. Okay, how does this first term factor? It is difference of two squares, right? X squared minus 1. Okay, so we put the x plus 5 on the top, and we put the x minus 1 on the bottom in the denominator, and we do a little canceling out. Bam, bam, like that. And we have x plus 1, x plus 5. Both of them are in the numerator on the top, and that's okay. I don't know that we've ever had a problem yet like that, where that happened, but that's okay. And that's your answer. If my pen will cooperate. There we go. Okay, questions there? Okay, okay, so this little guy, once again, I would put this over 1, or you could kind of get, you know, ahead, and instead what you could do, you could go, oh, you know what, this is a division problem. I'm going to have to flip it. So it's really not over 1. If I change that to division, I could go ahead and flip it, right? Do y'all see what I did or not? So technically, it's really x plus 2 over 1, right? But I know I'm going to end up flipping it. So I just kind of got ahead of myself. But if that confuses you, don't do that. Okay, so how does this one factor right here? X plus 2, x plus 2. I had somebody last period, okay, using grouping to do all the problems like this. You don't have to do that, guys. Don't waste your time doing grouping when they don't have a leading coefficient here, a number here, okay? Just do what multiplies that adds. Only do the grouping when you have a number in the front, when it starts out with a number in the front. Okay, over 1 over x plus 2. Y'all might be already ahead of me on this. Okay, those cancel out. We're left with x plus 2 divided by x plus 3, or over x plus 3. Okay? Okay, so here, it looks messy, but it's not too bad. I promise. Okay, on the top, in the numerator, well, how do those factor? They'll both divide by 2. And so we get x, what? Minus 1. Okay, in the denominator, what multiplies that adds? Okay, x plus 2, good, I heard it. X plus 3. I always like it when they're all nice, pretty positive numbers. That helps. Okay, so here's where we need to flip around a little bit. Go ahead and put your 2 on the bottom. That way you'll write the 3x plus 9 in the right spot. Okay? Okay, so how do these divide? What's the GCF? 3. So we make sure we write our GCF. That's another easy mistake to make, you know, kind of forgetting to write your GCF. So we get x plus 3. Do we flip this guy? No, don't flip this guy. Don't take the reciprocal of this third and last term. 3x minus 3, how does that factor? They both divide by 3, and we get x minus 1. Okay, now the fun begins. Okay, let's start canceling out. X minus 1, does he have a buddy? Yes, and the buddy has to be on the bottom. Okay, top, bottom. Okay, can't be x minus 1 side by side. Okay. X plus 3, is there a buddy? Yep. Come on, pen. Why am I having more problems today than normal? Okay, let's see if that works now. Yep. Okay. And then x plus 2, is there a buddy? Okay, what else cancels? The 2's, okay. Anything else cancel? The 3's, oh my gosh. Okay, so what happened? Everything canceled out, didn't it? So what do we, when you have the same thing on the top as you do on the bottom, what do you do? What's the answer then? What is it? Okay, when we have the same on the top as we do on the bottom, what's the answer? 1. And I heard a couple of people say it. I was just trying to get more people to say it. Okay, so don't think it's 0. Don't think it's x. Okay, it's 1. So what happened is you have the same thing on the top here. It's just rearranged differently down here, isn't it? But you could line them up exactly underneath each other. And so your answer is, I guess I shouldn't do that in light blue. Your answer is 1. I don't think you may not ever have another one like that again, but that one's kind of a fun one to have. Okay, so